In the small village of Pedra Seca, every day seemed the same. The houses were simple, the residents knew each other by name, and the routine dragged on without any major changes. Among the inhabitants was an old woman named Zina, known for her bulging eyes and hoarse voice that whispered things no one wanted to hear. She lived alone, in a cabin on the edge of the forest, and many said she spoke to the dead. Children feared her, adults laughed at her. One day Zina appeared in the village square, interrupting mass with a scream that even caused the priest to spill the communion wine. "Blood will flow. Night will bring the curse of the hanging land," she shouted, pointing to the sky, darkened by heavy clouds. The locals just laughed. "Another crazy thing from the witch," they said. Among them was Diego, a 17-year-old boy, curious, brave, and incredulous. He sneered louder than anyone, challenging the old woman with a sarcastic smile. No one knew it, but that would be the last night of peace the village would know. That same night, a storm unlike any other had ever seen before fell upon Pedra Seca. Lightning flashed across the sky, and the smell of rotten earth filled the air. Animals fled in a stampede, barking echoed in the streets, and doors slammed shut. In the midst of the chaos, Diego heard knocking on his window. It was a pale figure with dark eyes and a mouth sewn shut with thorns. Screaming, he woke his parents, but when he opened the door, there was nothing but mud and silence. The next morning, 3 residents were missing. Zina, when contacted, only whispered, "The warning has been given. The seal has been broken." Frightened but still skeptical, Diego decided to investigate what was happening. The village, increasingly gripped by fear, was divided between fleeing or waiting. Diego knew he had to do something. Seeking answers, he entered the forbidden forest where Zina said evil slept. There, he discovered an ancient tree with twisted branches, and at its feet, symbols of sacrifice and human bones. Ordinary time was over. Now he needed to survive. As the village descended into terror, Diego struggled to understand the origin of the curse. Each night, more people disappeared, and shadow creatures invaded the houses, leaving only screams and bloodstains. Diego returned to Zina, who revealed the truth to him. Centuries ago, this land was the scene of dark rituals where innocents were hanged under the tree of oblivion. The spirit of the executioner, betrayed and cursed, would awaken whenever the tree was touched by hands of new blood. Exactly what Diego had done when he disturbed the old bones. The only chance to reverse the curse was to repeat the ritual with offerings of repentance, fire, blood, and remembrance, but to do so, Diego would have to cross the living forest facing the children of the knot, creatures born from the roots of the cursed tree. On his journey, he lost friends, was wounded by poisoned thorns, and almost gave in to despair. The path was cruel, and each step took a toll on his soul. But he pressed on, driven by guilt and the promise of saving what was left of the village. Deep in the forest, Diego reached the altar of the hanged man, where the executioner's spirit awaited him. A deformed figure with eyes that wept ash, and a voice that spoke within his mind. "You laughed at the warning. Now you will pay the price." The ritual called for a living sacrifice, and Zina was already there, chained, saying she was ready. But Diego could not allow it. The old woman had warned him. He was to blame. So, in an act of redemption, he offered himself. He cut open his palm, lit the sacred fire, and chanted the words Zina had taught him. The forest screamed. The roots caught him, the executioner approached with the black rope, and all seemed lost. But in the final moment, Zina freed herself using ancient words, drove away the spirit and took Diego's place in the sacrifice. With her last breath, she sealed the tree, and it burned in green flames, consuming the monsters, the curse, and the past. The village was free. When Diego returned, he was a changed man. Silently, he respected the memory of those who had passed away and kept a shrine lit for Zina, the old woman who was despised, but saved everyone. Since then, no one laughed at strange warnings anymore, because they learned that true terror begins when you refuse to listen.